On December 17th at UFC Vegas 66, UFC lightweight fighter Drew Dober, age 34, fought Bobby Green, age 36. After Dober's victory, he named several fighters he would like to go against in the future. One of the most brutal fighters in the UFC, Michael Chandler, came up on the list. Keep watching for details on this, as well as what fans had to say about a fight between Chandler and Dober. First up, what did Arman Tsarukyan have to say about Michael Chandler? The 155-pound weight class, which many people regard as the best in all of MMA, isn't lacking in well-known fighters with passionate followings and intriguing styles. Islam Makhachev, the current champion, wants to become the first to successfully defend the title more than 3 times in history. 3 of the sport's most thrilling competitors, regardless of weight, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, and Michael Chandler, are among the top contenders. Tsarukyan, age 26, wants to face an established opponent after making great progress in the rankings. Tsarukyan argues that the specific trio, Chandler more than the others, needs to cease fighting entirely despite his hopes for someone of the aforementioned caliber. Tsarukyan said to Hardcore MMA that all of them need to retire. He said they should be removed from the top 15 and that all they do is fight one another. He stated that those 3 men were his least favorite fighters. Tsarukyan said that he could definitely fight them. He stated that Chandler poses no danger and that he is powerless against Islam. He further said that Chandler charges like a bull in the first 2 rounds. One can see how amateurish he was in battle with Gaethje. He also said that being a wrestler, why was Chandler engaging in a stand-up battle with Gaethje? He picked him up, placed him down, and did not even get the position. Tsarukyan said that if he had picked him up, he should have had the position. He stated that Chandler had no logic and should retire because he was old. Georgia's Tsarukyan made a splash in April 2019 when he defeated then-champion Makhachev in a rare grappling heavy fight of the night match. Tsarukyan was defeated that evening, but he performed so admirably in defeat that the community believed a clear future contender had just been seen in action. Since his official debut, Tsarukyan has gone 6-1, and recently at UFC Vegas 66, he won again by unanimous decision against Damir Ismagulov. Eventually, Makhachev is anticipated to be defeated in a rematch by the number 9 lightweight contender in the official UFC rankings. What could happen if Conor McGregor defeats Michael Chandler? According to Michael Bisping, Conor McGregor may just require 1 victory to return to the title picture. Despite losing 3 of his last 4 fights, McGregor is unquestionably the sport's biggest star. Michael Chandler has repeatedly challenged the former UFC dual champion, and Bisping believes that if they do fight, it might place him back in the title picture. On his YouTube channel, Bisping stated that Conor has all the money in the world, but he wants that title, so one has to admire that about him. And if he wins his rematch with Michael Chandler, it wouldn't be unreasonable to consider a title battle as the following opponent. After all, Chandler is still one of the best. Bisping then stated that McGregor was going to be in a title fight after that if he beat Chandler, connected, and gets knocked out. Although the two have engaged in their fair share of online arguments, McGregor remains a threat in Bisping's eyes, especially given the strength in his left hand. He remains an excellent boxer. According to Bisping, you can't reach the levels he did without having something exceptional, although there may have been a slight decline recently. Therefore, the battle between Chandler and McGregor is very logical since he fractured his leg in a TKO loss to Dustin Poirier in July 2021. McGregor has not participated in a competition. He spoke of a return in 2023, but he won't be able to compete until he rejoins the US Anti-Doping Agency drug testing pool and has gone through 6 months of testing. Next, what did Drew Dober say about a fight between Makhachev and Poirier? Drew Dober is having a strong stretch of play. The American has won his last 3 matches in a row by a stoppage. In fact, each of his last 6 victories was a finish. Dober's most recent defeat came in a unanimous decision against Brad Riddle last year, yet he still received a bonus for fight of the night. Before it, Islam Makhachev, the champion, submitted the veteran of Bellator. Dober knows the Dagestani better than anyone, having spent time in the cage with him firsthand. The 34-year-old was asked who else in the class he thought would pose a challenge for the champion in a recent interview with James Lynch, and he responded. He said that he believes Dustin Poirier might cause Makhachev some issues. The fight would be close. Actually, the decisive component in the bout would be fight IQ. At UFC 280, Makhachev easily claimed the title by submitting Charles Oliveira in the 2nd round. Given that Do Bronx has the most finishes in UFC history? The victory was a major coup for the Russians. Some of their victories were over some of the division's most lethal competitors, like Poirier. At UFC 284 in Perth, Makhachev will defend his championship for the first time against Alex Volkanovski. Poirier defeated Michael Chandler via submission at UFC 281, moving him up to second place in the division. The Diamond has lost 2 prior bouts for the championship, but given that he weighs 155 pounds, he may one day have a chance to challenge Makhachev for the title. Meanwhile, Dober has 8 knockouts and is trying to break Poirier's record for most lightweight victories. Dober wants to challenge Chandler and has stated that he would be interested in facing Poirier because of his admiration for the Louisiana native. While Iron is actively chasing a fight with Conor McGregor, Dober has entered the fray to square off against Chandler if that doesn't materialize. It's still a competitive matchup despite the 9 spots in the rankings separating them. Chandler's renowned for being one of the sport's most competitive players and for participating in barn burners. Next up, Drew Dober is now in the top 15 lightweight division. The promotion's final event of 2022, UFC Vegas 66, had several really exciting bouts that moved the official rankings around. Jared Cannonier defeated Sean Strickland in the main event by a split decision. The flyweight division has undergone the biggest changes since the event, with Manel Kape moving up 3 spots and Amir Albazi moving up 1. After losing to Matos Nicolau at UFC Orlando, Matt Schnell dropped to number 8 and Albazi took Schnell's place. This past weekend, Albazi defeated Alessandro Costa by 3rd round TKO, and Kape defeated David Dvorak by a decision on the same preliminary show. Starboy is now in position number 9, whereas Dvorak, Tim Elliott, and Su Muderji all dropped 1 position. Meanwhile, the old guard in the lightweight class has changed now that Tony Ferguson, the former interim champion, is no longer included in the rankings. Conor McGregor also dropped out of the rankings a few days before this. El Cucoy's last victory was against Donald Cerrone in 2019, and he is currently on a catastrophic 5-fight losing streak. Since breaking his leg against Dustin Poirier at UFC 264 last year, McGregor has been sidelined. With Ferguson gone, Grant Dawson dropped 1 spot, while Drew Dober moved up 1 slot to number 14 in the lightweight rankings. At UFC Vegas 66, Dober defeated Bobby Green via knockout in the 2nd round. After defeating Julian Erosa in the 1st round, Alex Caceres, 34, moved up to number 15 in the featherweight rankings. Drew Dober calls out Michael Chandler. Drew is seeking a matchup with one of the UFC fighters who is known for his brutality. At UFC Vegas 66, shortly after knocking out Bobby Green in the 2nd round, Dober called out Jalen Turner as the 6'3" monster he would prefer to face in the near future. In response, the Tarantula stated that he had, quote, already made the call for Dober. Dober has another fight in mind for his next appearance if that one doesn't go as planned. The lightweight UFC fighter called out Michael Chandler on Twitter with all these prospective pairing suggestions and everyone's predictions of the result. Dober wrote that there is only one way to find out, and that's his only thought. Dober stated that he loves fighting against individuals he respects and has been a fan of Chandler's for years. Conor McGregor disagrees, and he is prepared to use violence. Chandler, who recently suffered a 3rd round rear naked choke loss to Dustin Poirier at UFC 281, has his sights set on Conor McGregor, the former 2-division UFC champion, who is anticipated to make a quick comeback. Since breaking his leg in his 3rd fight with the aforementioned Poirier, the Notorious has not competed. In Iron's opinion, all indications point to him facing McGregor in 2023, thus Dober might have to hold out on facing the former title contender. Dober equaled Poirier for the most knockout victories in UFC lightweight history with his victory over Green. Additionally, the Elevation Fight Team member increased his winning streak to 3. Next up, fans debate the likely outcome of a fight between Michael Chandler and Drew Dober. On December 17th, Drew competed in another exhilarating match as he took on Bobby Green at UFC Fight Night 216. The majority of the first 2 rounds were dominated by Green, who frequently outpunched his opponent before Dober's devastating left hand knocked him out. Following his 3rd knockout victory of 2022, Dober's supporters are now speculating about a potential matchup with Michael Chandler. MMA fans discussed what would be a guaranteed barn burner on Twitter, with one supporter pointing out that both combatants can take a punch. Another person stated that one of them was going to be knocked out. At UFC Fight Night 203, Drew Dober faced off against Terrence McKinney in one of the best one-round fights ever. Dober recovered from being repeatedly felled by knee strikes to finish off McKinney with little over a minute remaining. Michael Chandler has also fought in a lot of thrilling battles. Iron was informed that his battle with Justin Gaethje at UFC 268 was the fight of the year, a fight where he took unbelievable damage over the course of 3 rounds. We have come to the end of this video. What are your thoughts regarding a fight between Michael Chandler and Drew Dober? Which fighter would you like to know more about? Let us know in the comments section. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one.